Greetings once again. Thank you so much for making up time. I'm so much glad that you are here and ready to receive from the Lord. We are on prophecy hindrances. Prophecy hindrances. We dealt with the first one, which is the misunderstood prophecy. The prophecy that was given, and it wasn't properly understood because of several reasons. And we dealt with that. And if I try to get into a review, we may spend the rest of the night again dwelling on that same hindrance. Let's not allow the first hindrance to hinder us from getting to the next hindrance. Prophecy hindrance. Number 2, the premature prophecy. The premature prophecy. You probably have been wondering what really makes prophecy to be immature or premature. What could be the reason? Well, so many reasons. The other reason is the premature delivery of the prophecy. There is the premature delivery of the prophecy. I would like to bring your attention to the book of Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah. Isaiah chapter number 50 and verse number 4. Prophet Isaiah chapter 50 and verse number 4. The Lord God hath given me the tongue of the learned, that I should know how to speak. Then he goes on to explain what happens when a word is given to the tongue of the learned. He says, a word in season to him that is weary. He wakeneth morning by morning. He wakeneth mine ear to hear as the learned. It's an interesting piece of scripture where you have the prophet appreciating God for giving him the tongue of the learned. And he says that by reason of the tongue that I have that is educated, I'm able to deliver a word in season to him that is weary. So the delivery of a message or of a prophecy out of its season can be considered as a premature prophecy. And that can be a hindrance. There must be the right timing when it comes to the delivery of the prophecy. The prophecy ought to be delivered at the right time. And it takes the tongue of the learned. There must be some form of education that the prophet has been exposed or subjected to. So it matters how learned, how informed, and how educated the prophet that prophesies to you is. It matters. The tongue of the learned, that I should know how to speak. There is a how to the speaking. There is the right way of delivering a word. It has to be the right word delivered at the right time. So attaching the word to the right season and delivering that word to the right person. Because Isaiah is saying, to him that is weary, delivering by the tongue that is of the learned a word. And the word has to be given in season and to the right person, the one who is weary. Being able to discern the level of weariness in the person and knowing this is the right time for the right word to be delivered. There is such a thing as a premature prophecy. Look at Proverbs 15:23. Proverbs 15:23. A man hath joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken in due season. How good is it? A word spoken, listen to that, a word spoken in due season. Due season. The season has to be due before the word can be spoken. Amazing, amazing. Was the season due when you had your word spoken by the man of God, by the prophet? Was it a due season for that word? If the word is in its season, how good is it? But he started by saying, a man hath joy by the answer of his mouth. What is he talking about here? I'll try to make this one a little bit shorter than the first one. Hear this. Hear this. But it's quite long. Quite long. But I'll just summarize what I have here. How can a man have joy by the answer of his own mouth? How do you explain that? To have joy by reason of the answers that you hear coming out of your own mouth. There is a very strange mystery here. Because normally when you ask a question, it is coming from your mind through your mouth. And then you can only hear yourself asking the question. But in this case, you will have joy by the answer of his mouth. the answer that you hear coming out of your own mouth. That's an amazing statement. A man hath joy by the answer of his mouth. He is saying, you will be found providing answers to the questions that people are asking. And by reason of that ability to provide solutions, your joy shall be derived from that. You'll find joy when you begin to provide answers to the questions coming from other people. But there is the highest level of answering questions. When the same mouth that once asked a question is now able to answer the same question. Now the questionnaire is able to hear himself provide the answer. What a joyful moment. But you'll have to hear it. You'll have to hear it coming out of your mouth. What could have happened? Maybe a prophetic whispering would have found a place in your mind, and then you just find yourself providing answers to the questions that you had in your mind. God can send people to help you. God can send individuals to provide answers that you're looking for. But sometimes prophetically, the grace can fall upon you, and you hear yourself utter statements which are no longer in question form, but in answer form. But the word spoken in due season, how good is it? It's a good word when spoken in due season. So what if the word is delivered outside of its season? It's a bad thing. Premature prophecy. This is something that can happen. I remember some years back, still in the apostolic faith mission, I had this young man, and God spoke to me concerning the work that God had for him. And all I did, given the level of his understanding, he didn't understand much about the God that wanted to use him. So his future is not only the thing that I was seeing, I could also see his current position, his inabilities to perceive, even to comprehend, even to carry that load at that time. So the prophecy delivery had to be postponed to a later date. But meanwhile, I had to try to bring him closer to me so that he would get an impartation of character that would sustain the calling. I want you to follow this. Bringing him close to me was an attempt to share the ability that I know God has given to me. I wanted him to learn my ways. So I took him close to me, allowed him to observe my walk with God, how I relate with God and how I relate with people. But I had not declared the prophecy to him to say, the reason why I'm exposing you to my lifestyle, it is because God has given you a call. No. God had clearly told me about him, but because of his immaturity, it wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right season as well. It wasn't a due moment. But I quickly acted upon the prophecy before I delivered the prophecy. But during that interaction, I realized that impartation had already started to take place. The guy was now starting to have access to very deep revelations of the Word of God. He would have certain encounters, even during the night. But still I said, until he matures to the level of the prophecy. So I was waiting for the due season. So something happened. He went to a certain church. And there, I don't know how he got an opportunity. Whether he was given a chance to preach, I don't know. Whether he interacted with some people, maybe they had a Bible study, I don't know. But then attending a service there, he was picked up by another prophet. And he was given a word that he should start a ministry. And then he was asked, are you a member of this church? He said, no. Yet this prophet knew already where this guy was coming from. And he went on to say, you carry an amazing grace, greater even than the man that you're submitting to. And the prophet went on to say, your mentor is even afraid of you. And I'm advising you as a prophet of God that you make a move, because this is your time. Shine. This prophet didn't realize that what he had seen this young man do was as a result of an impartation. It wasn't really because this guy had received it from Norway. No, impartation had already started. So he had that. And he was even advised by the prophet never to inquire from me concerning this, because he was told that even if you disclose this prophecy, he will never let you go. So I lost him. He stopped coming to me. Started moving around looking for a sound system, ready to start his ministry. Imagine just after a month, just a month after he started his ministry, he had already slept with half of his church. Half. You may be surprised. How can a person sleep with half of his church? You must ask how many people were there. With just 10 members. So 5 of them, depending on how many women, but 5. And there were issues. He didn't know what to do. He lost it. Lost the ministry. Tried for 1 year until he was left alone. And the last days during his preaching, he was even trying to accuse me for placing a case over his life. The ministry failed to take off. Not because God had not called him, but a word in season. How good is it? There is a word in due season. Your mentor knows the right time. Premature prophecy. And I can tell you today, even if he is to come back, because he did, he came back. But I couldn't find a place in him to put back what he had lost. The investment was so huge and the loss, we could not recover from that. All that we could just focus on at that time was his salvation. No more ministry. Why? A premature prophecy can be as a result of a premature prophet. It is important that you investigate the prophet behind the prophecy. The integrity of the prophet is very critical. The track record of the prophet is very important. Don't ignore that and just run with the prophecy. Is the prophet mature enough to deliver a mature prophecy? Does he have the tongue of the learned? Is it just the prophecy that he is delivering, or you can feel and hear knowledge? Is prophecy that is coming out of his mouth accompanied by wisdom? Premature prophecy is a hindrance. A premature prophecy is capable of altering destinies. You can be given a wrong career by a premature prophet. You can be sidelined. You can be derailed from your path by a premature prophecy by the premature prophet. Verifying the uprightness of the prophet is very important before you start running with the prophecy. It's not all about the weight of the prophecy, but the weight of the prophet upon the prophecy is needed. There are people right now who are busy doing what God never, ever sent them to do. Because you had so much love for the things of God, and some of you, because of your immaturity, you went as far as even subjecting your men of God to unnecessary pressure, because you needed to hear what God was saying concerning you. And in as much as your man of God was not a qualified prophet to deliver such a word that you desired so much at that time, you forced him to say something that God wasn't saying. And a word was given to you. Some of you have had people coming to you and they told you that you're a man of God simply because you enjoyed preaching. And you never realized that preaching is something that every child of God once in a while should be able to do. But that doesn't mean that you're a pastor, having people under you. Having people under you, it's a greater assignment that calls for more than just delivering a sermon. But you heard that at a time when you really wanted to hear that, and then you believed it. So premature prophecy can be as a result of the immaturity of the prophet or the receiver of the prophecy. If you are not mature enough, even receiving a prophetic word from a mature prophet will not bring any good results. You must be nurtured. You must be groomed to a level where you can become qualified for the prophecy. Premature delivery. You know, my father has taught me many things. Many things concerning the matters of the Spirit. My father, Prophet Victor Kusibuwate, he took me and opened up a door and made me look into the scriptures and see how God had established an authentic communication system called the prophetic. But then, because of my age in the prophetic, you know, I can give you examples. I've been to his church several times, and I have never at any point attempted to prophesy to his members. The only time that I prophesied to his people was when he forced me to do so. He actually forced me. He was even angry with me. I didn't want to prophesy to his people because I understand my level in the prophetic. Because I know I'm worried, I'm concerned about what I'm saying. Because I don't know what other prophecy that same person might have received from my father. What if I come in as a contradiction? I'm considering my age. We are here tonight to talk about premature prophecy. Ever since God through my Father, gave me the grace to see and to hear the slightest voice, the quietest voice. When God speaks, and I'm able to hear that. I wasn't like that before. Ever since I've been to other ministries, other churches, I've never been to any church of another man of God and given a prophecy to his people without a permission from the local pastor. Not even one. Every ministry, every church I've been to, I've never at any time picked my phone to even call a member of that church to talk about anything. We're talking about maturity here. We're talking about maturity. You invite me to your ministry today, I will ask you, what's the reason why you want me to come? If it's about the word, ministering from scriptures, I will stick to that. I've been to churches where I can actually whisper to the hosting pastor and tell him, you see that woman sitting right in front, the third one from my left, she has a condition. We have to minister to her. Otherwise, she's going to die in the next 3 weeks. And then I stand up to minister. I touch on something completely different. I let the pastor do the work. If he's going to save life, he's able to do that. But if I have to prophesy, I have to be asked. But I'm just trying to give you something here very important. The reason why I don't want to prophesy, even today I'm not comfortable prophesying in my spiritual father's church. Why? Because he has an overall say. He has an overall say, which makes it dangerous. A greater prophet than you can make you a liar. It's easy. You can be made a false prophet by a true prophet or a much more mature prophet. It's an issue of maturity. It's an issue of maturity. A mature prophet can make an immature prophet a false prophet. Not because he's a false prophet, but simply it's because he's an immature prophet. Very possible in the prophetic. You can be made a liar by a mature prophet. So I'm not comfortable because I can call out somebody and give that somebody a prophetic message and not realizing that maybe my father had given a completely opposite prophecy to the same person. Now there is 2 prophetic words, messages on one person. So one there of the 3 of us is not mature. And in this case, you can't be more mature than your father. Then I'm the one. You must measure the prophetic grace upon the host pastor, because he can cancel everything you said during that conference. And he can make you a liar. Measure that first. Is he operating under the same grace? If he is not in that territory, then you have a say. You are the final authority in that territory when it comes to the prophetic. If he has given you the green light, then your word is final. I'm just trying to cover the prophetic side here. What makes prophecy to become a premature prophecy? The immaturity of the prophet, or the one receiving the prophecy, or the timing. It can be delivered at the wrong time, and that is very dangerous. So under the premature prophecy, you can also have, I've given you the premature delivery, that a message can be given to you at the wrong time, and you believe it at the wrong time. And then you start having problems. You must be very careful. Even those of you parents listening to me, you must be equipped by this information that I'm giving you tonight to be able to even protect your child from even premature dreams. It is possible that your son can be given a false career through a dream. There is a layer that the devil normally builds around people that makes it so hard for dreams to penetrate, especially accurate dreams. There is a distortion, the waves of dreams. And when a false dream is coming, that layer opens up, and your child can be exposed to a path, a prediction, a future, a promise that is never compatible with his character. And you can have your child, your son, your daughter, neglecting that which God has called him to accomplish on the earth. And sometimes he loses interest in studying. He doesn't want to go to school anymore because he believes that he has found his path. Maybe it's a sport, and he's never probably going to excel in that area. But every time your son goes to bed, he's being bombarded by those premature dreams. So there is a responsibility that you have as a parent to safeguard and to make sure that your child is not lured. Your child is not linked to a wrong frequency that can result in a wrong destiny being offered to your son in form of a dream or in form of a prophecy. You have a right as a parent, when your daughter is coming from a prophetic church, if a message was delivered to her by the prophet, as a parent, you have a right to hear every single word that was said concerning your daughter and verify that. Destinies can be altered. Destinies can be destroyed. Immature prophets, they have sent several people into wrong positions. Immature prophets. He's not seeing anything, yet he tells your daughter, this is who you're going to become. And she abandons everything else. She starts pursuing a wrong path. Why? Because the integrity of the prophet was never checked. Children can be deceived. They are very susceptible to wrong dreams, wrong visions, wrong ideas. Like children, you know, a child may say, I don't want to eat. I'm full, I'm okay. And then you take the same rice. You put some bit of colors. You make it blue. You make it yellow. You make it green. You make it red. And suddenly, he starts eating. Just a color. anything can lure you when you are immature. You can believe any word, depending on the coloration, the decoration, the presentation by the prophet. You can believe anything. You have to be mature. Be careful of a word that comes to you before you are mature. So under premature prophecy, you have the premature delivery, and you also have the premature fulfillment. There is the premature fulfillment of the prophecy. What is that? I've given you this several times. God said we are making man in our image and in our likeness. Because God said that. There was a prophecy over that man he was about to form. That's a prophecy. And the devil came and he made sure that that prophecy comes to pass much earlier. God knows if you eat of this tree, you will become like him. And eventually, God came to confirm, indeed, man has become like us. So that prophetic word was fast-tracked by the enemy. He reached a position today he was supposed to reach tomorrow. So many things in between got bypassed. There is a premature fulfillment of a prophetic word. Jesus, the reason why Joseph took him to Egypt, it was so that he would not be killed prematurely. Yet he had a prophetic word over him that he would die for us. He would be bruised. He would be wounded for our transgressions. He had a prophecy hanging over him. But that was supposed to happen at the right time. That's what the Bible talks about, in the fullness of time. There is the right time. You must be careful now. Be careful now. Be careful now. Though he had come to die, he made sure that he dies at the right time. There is a devil out there who makes certain prophecies to come to pass too early. Your house that you are building gets completed at the wrong time. And then you lose your relationship. Premature fulfillment. This can happen in marriage. You can have a prophet, for example. He can come to you at the age of 13, and you're told that a good husband is coming in the future. This is going to be the perfect man that you will need for you to have a stable life. And the prophet can be sharp to an extent of even giving you the name, and he tells you he's going to be called John. And then at age 20, here comes a man. His name is John. But is that the John? That's the question. Because when the prophecy was given, the devil was present. He needs prophecy because he's not prophetic. So when prophets are prophesying, the devil makes sure that he is present, because that's where he gets to know where people are going. Then he attacks them based on that prophecy. That is why most people, after receiving a prophetic word, They started getting unnecessary attacks and they were wondering, how come from the day I got the prophecy, things started going wrong? That was the presence of the devil during the prophetic delivery. When the prophecy was delivered, the devil was present. That's what helps him know who to attack. He relies on the prophets, the devil himself. So follow this principle closely, closely, closely. So when the daughter at 13 was given a prophecy that John is coming, something should have been done first before the delivery of that prophecy. There must be a certain amount of the presence of God generated in that atmosphere that distracts the devil from properly perceiving and understanding the prophecy that was being given to this daughter. That is why worship is needed. Prayer is needed. You charge the atmosphere, making sure that the presence of God repels the presence of the devil. So that when prophecies are being given, you don't have the devil paying attention to what the prophet is saying. He's distracted by the presence of God. So it has to be cultivated to a level where the atmosphere first matures for the delivery of the prophecy. So the one receiving the prophecy is protected, because it is possible for the devil to actually hack the atmosphere and tap into those divine conversations and hear what the prophet is telling this 13-year-old girl. This is very critical, what I'm telling you now. Cultivating the presence of God first before a word can be dropped. Very necessary. So at 13, a word is given, and the name of the husband is even mentioned by the prophet, John. And at 20, here comes John. But have you ever thought for a moment, how many Johns do we have out there? Is this the right John? That's the question. Because the devil was present when the name was dropped. Now he goes out. He gets a John who is not the right John. The John in the prophecy. And she's ready to embrace this man who is coming, because this is John. This cannot be a coincidence. Why? Because you're not aware of the presence of the devil when the prophecy was given. Premature fulfillment of a prophecy. When you're blessed too early, when you're exposed to good things too early. Every daughter that gets married before maturity. Son, listen to me. If you've got a girl that you're dating, you must be ready to face in that marriage something that appears like a demon. An immature wife doesn't require any demonic assistance to bring hell to you. I'm not saying don't marry. I'm just saying know this. Be ready. You must understand, if she's not mature, if you don't consider where she's coming from, is she a product of mature experiences? Was she brought up by mature people? If she's not, and you guys get married, that lack of maturity will cause a lot of problems. because she still needs time to learn. She will act like she has a demon. No. It's lack of maturity. So at the time you got the prophecy, were you mature enough to understand it? Or if the prophecy comes to pass too early, when you're not yet ready for it, because there is a preparation needed for the prophecy to come to pass. Who knows? Maybe at 21, at 22, the actual John was going to appear. And he's coming at a time when another John has already taken you hostage. All of you men listening to me, you did the right thing, which is marrying. But did you marry at the right time? And did you marry the right person? Is the wife you have the wife that God wanted you to have? Is that wife that you have in your life the right wife? Is that the wife that God wanted you to have? Who manipulated you? Who advised you? Who pressurized you? What are the things that you overlooked, yet God had shown you that this behavior is not good for a wife? And because you were overwhelmed by love, at the time of your immaturity, and you overlooked certain basics, and now you're crying. Is that a wife? Is that a husband? What went wrong? Premature fulfillment. Are you mature enough to give a prophetic word to someone else? Be very careful. Be very careful. Don't just walk up to people and you say, this is what God is saying to me concerning you. Leave your job, because God is going to use you. I'm telling you tonight that God is going to judge you for every soul that you have led astray. You're responsible. You tell a nurse or a medical doctor, a man that God has specially designed for that assignment, and you tell him that you're going to get into real estate, that's your area. And then he goes into that property developing and so on. Wherever that man goes, he doesn't have any covering because God has made provision. There is enough security for that man in the health sector, not in construction sector. Whatever happens to him, if a building falls on him and he dies on the spot, you are responsible for that blood. You lied to him. You must be sure, you must be mature. Are you mature enough to deliver that prophetic message? You that is receiving, are you mature enough? Are you qualified for that kind of prophecy? If you're told today by a prophet that you get $1 billion in the next 5 years, do you consider the level of maturity required first? Are you mature enough for that size of a prophecy. You're told, I'm seeing you ministering and thousands of people gathering around you. And you start jumping up and down. You're ready for that. Thousands of people. Yet one wife is giving you a problem. Are you mature for the prophecy? Premature prophecy is a hindrance. Either your immaturity as the recipient of the prophecy or even the prophet delivering the prophecy, if he's not mature enough, that can actually create problems. Problems. Some of you listening to me, you go to churches where you listen to a prophet, that you yourself, you are even more mature. You should be the one helping that man of God. Some of you go for counseling, and the problems that you are presenting before the man of God for him to counsel you. He should be the one asking you for help. You are better off in your marriage than that man of God. But because of pride, because of his position, he believes he's there to help everyone else. Maturity is needed. So I'm teaching you this so that your life can become better. There is a lot under premature prophecy that I can cover. Are you at a level where you can't be made a liar by another mature prophet? You must consider that as a prophet before you deliver any prophetic message. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Had God told me that COVID-19 would not come to Africa, had God told me that coronavirus will never penetrate Africa, had God told me that, and had I told the people that it's never coming to Africa, what was going to become of me? Having that same virus being reported in Africa. Not because it came to Africa, but because it was reported. What was going to become of me? That was not going to mean that the prophecy was false, but it could have been the reports that are false. What is it around you as a prophet that can make you a false prophet? Not because you're false, but because everything around you is false. The wisdom needed, the intelligence that is needed, the tongue of the learned. Is there something that can contradict you? I never had confidence in my own prophecies until my spiritual father kept on nurturing me. I didn't want to destroy people's lives. Today when I deliver a word, I'm sure, I'm confident, I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying. May I tell you something? There is a certain man of God. He would every time come to our ministry for services.